All right. Well, if you guys are just now joining, or if you've caught anything today at all, you probably know what this is about. And I'm extremely excited to begin to talk to you guys about this. So, again, if you are just now joining, thank you so much. We're really excited to have you guys here. And I've decided to go ahead and bring along a good buddy of mine who has watched and participated in so much and has put so much effort into this page that it is just absolutely due for him to have a thank you to. His name is Darren. Darren, I want to thank you so much for everything you've done to this. I appreciate your continued support and your efforts to make this page what it is and bringing us history from across the pond, if you will. That hashtag is like a wonderful thing, and I love it because I can see so many different things because of it now. And he's actually taught me. I'm 26 and had no idea what the hell hashtags were. Or really, I knew what they were, but I just never really used them. Like
I'm surprised, but then again, I've only been using them a little while. My wife had to teach me. So,
I knew I was never going to make it in the IT field, so history was.
No, nor me.
No, but holy cow, what a day.
Yeah, so over the last 2 days, we've had nearly 11,000 engagements on the Facebook page. So we've gone from 10 to up another 1,000 in a day or so.
11,000 pages. 11,000 engagements.
Was the last day we spoke was it Tuesday, I think? Something like that.
No. Was it that long ago? Because today's Friday.
No, it was Wednesday, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was Wednesday. It came
Wednesday. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so in 2 days it's jumped. So we're doing something right.
In 2 days.
And it's everybody's passion, you can just see the passion and you can feel the passion. That's what it's all about.
And yesterday too, and I do apologize for last night's video. I was so tired, but I really wanted to finally get Tim on one of these. So I was just letting myself not out of sleep at the freaking thing. I had to get up really early. I have been up all day at the same time working. So it was just a long day. I was ready and I was beat, and woke up refreshed this morning and made our way up north to as north as I went was Winchester, Virginia, to the Fort Shenandoah National or North-South Sharpshooters Association's event with the 12th U.S. regulars and many other groups that came up to compete, and we were able to do some awesome stuff today. I had an opportunity that I've never really had before. Now I've done reenactments and I've been able to participate in things like living history where there's firing demonstrations, but this was no demonstration like I thought it was. Like, oh my God. And the best part about that too was that there was a severe weather event that decided to close the rest of the event. But I'm honestly going to say if it wasn't for that severe weather event, I mean, not that I would have joined anyways, I would have joined 100% because of how amazing it was. But I think it just served to make it that much more memorable. Again, one of those like silver lining in the cloud type things, no pun intended. There was a lot of lightning. So, I mean, maybe not so much silver lining, but it was bad. But it was fun. You said I looked so good. I mean, just absolutely, completely drenched.
I will actually say you looked like a drowned rat.
Thank you. I tried. Sorry. I did the whole hair flip for you and everything.
But anyway, I didn't know when you said about what you was doing. I didn't know that it was a competition. So how many other groups was there? Was it really competitive?
No, and that's the fun thing. It is a competitive thing. Yes, you're competing for medals and you're competing for a spot, but everybody would spot each other. They'd measure each other. Like if we were short a man to measure, we'd be, hey, can we borrow you? Yeah, no problem. There were various different pieces of artillery out there. There were mortars out there. There was a group next to us firing a 10-pound Parrott rifle. There was even a pack Parrott rifle. That is that little gun, the loudest piece of artillery I've ever heard in my life. You can
the little ones are always the loudest.
Oh man, I was 30, 40 feet away. Not even that, but my whole chest, like, whoa. And my actual watch sent me a alert that my heartbeat was unrhythmic at it. But I'm like, I'm also over here pulling mortars and firing all these things. I was in heaven. And I know that's sounds crazy, but I'm, as someone who has artillerists in their family and who has done artillery reenactments, to have the opportunity to see your shot fly out of a tube, arch up and hit down. Yes. Oh my God. I mean, it was just beyond belief.
Tyler got some very good photographs.
Thank you.
And he even, especially of the mortar.
I didn't even take those. Those were the shots I fired.
Oh, was you not? Yeah.
No, so I went with a really good friend of mine.
And the ball coming out of the mortar.
So that was a video. What I was able to do was go back to the videos that my friend Daryl took. So I took a lot of videos of Daryl, and Daryl did myself as well. He was like, let me get some videos for you. I was like, all right, well, let's go ahead and try and see if I can't get some screenshots of this, because I wanted to just, I didn't take pictures. I was so like, when I first saw like the slow motion and heard that round exit the tube and fly all the way out and actually land, 100 to 200 yards away. It blew my mind that even happened. You can feel it. Daryl was like, hey, why don't you stand to the side and just watch your shot, watch your work. It's like, okay. He said, and feel it too, because there is a tremendous difference between a boom at your reenactments compared to that large just percussion feeling that you can feel reverberate through your body. And it's bone chilling, because I'm sitting here. When we fired, you would have somebody else maybe fire in succession, or like 2 other or 3 other shots go off at the same time, and I'm just, there's an artillery barrage going. There's so many things running through your head at that time. Before I get into like the feelings and just kind of how the day went, we showed up and we got there, and Daryl and I were able to walk around a little bit beforehand, and I'm already in heaven because I'm just seeing people wheeling in ordnance rifles, which are not a quiet thing either. Being far away from them and hearing those ordnance, I still kind of jolt. I was like, oh God, that's that could be painful to be shot with an ordnance rifle, obviously, but it's just like you get these things you don't get from the books when you're out there. And I have a lot of people that are not want to say anti-reenactment, but don't give the time of day to it, and it is a very closed-minded thing to do, because in my opinion, and I'm not calling you, but it is at the same time, because you're like not giving the idea of experiencing it for yourself and giving yourself a small little glimpse and really putting yourself in their brogans again. We're going to go ahead and use that. People think it's just playing dress up or cap guns or playing with balls, whatever. That's what I've been told before.
Yeah.
I've been heard.
I've been called toy soldier and everything.
Absolutely. Well, those people don't have
it's because they've got small brains.
No, and I wouldn't say that, because I'd still respect some of their ideas, but I do think that they're robbing themselves of an experience, and that's something they're not going to be able to understand. There's an aspect of the Civil War they will never be able to feel, and that's okay, because that's their choice and that's their prerogative, and maybe they think that they have it in another way, and if they do, that's more power to them. But in my mind, I think that should be something. That's what I wanted to start with. Is this should be something that's more available for a lot of people, because this here was an experience that I never thought that I would ever want to go to. Oh, not that I didn't ever want to go to, but never something I would participate in or had the opportunity to participate in. And I get out there and participate, and the group of folks I went with were tremendous people. They were fantastic to associate with. They had great conversation, got along great, very like-minded, and I'd like to say very friendly as well. And we're very welcoming. Very welcoming.
What country you're in, they're all the same. The banter, the camaraderie, it is a great thing to be part of.
Yeah, and
it is.
Like I said, and to hear that, we are able, not just the day alone of the experience I had there. When I come home and talk to my friends like you've been able to bring me to places where, I'm in an online historian world I've never even thought possible this page would see. Like, this is something new. This is a brand new thing. And then Daryl Noonan, he was the one that took me up there today. He's a good buddy of mine, and I just tremendously appreciate him as a friend, and I cannot wait to see what this organization does in the 12th U.S. regulars, who I am going to be applying for and making sure I get a position, or hoping to get a position, and joining them on the field again, because it was just, again, one of those things I don't think I'd ever want to miss. It was
definitely not
extremely fun, and it was, at the end of the day, too, something that's going to help me better understand and make sense of something that is extremely difficult at the end of the day to make sense of. I would say just the Petersburg campaign alone would be that thing, because that's where mortars are very prevalent.
Going back to what you were saying about being in their shoes. Now, I've had 2 experiences like that since I've been doing American Civil War reenacting. Of course, some people might not know, but I've done English Civil War for 16 years. Before that, it's completely different.
Yeah.
But for me, the first time I was in a firing line of, infantry.
Hardy 1863 has a comment, if you don't mind. Hold on. Sorry. Yeah, he asked if I've ever played the game War of Rights. I have been playing that game since it was crowdfunded. I actually gave a tour to the 2 creators of the game at the Wilderness Exhibit Shelter, or the Saunders Field at Saunders Field at the Wilderness Battlefield in 2016. I remember when there was no artillery or any of that matter, and have been playing them for a very long time, because I've viewed it as a interpretive tool. So absolutely have played War of Rights. Darren, I am so sorry to cut you off. Hardy, that was a good question.
I have not played that game because I've got 2 young children, and trying to play a game is impossible. I can't even play. What's it called? What's that Western one? I bought that. I can't remember what it's called now.
Is it a World War I game?
No, it's set in the Wild West. What's it? Red Dead.
Redemption. That game's incredible.
I know, yeah. And do you know what? I bought it last year during the pandemic because I had nothing to do, and I haven't done a quarter of it.
I didn't know you had a PC like that. We got to get you on War of Rights because we can.
Well, it's on the PS4, like yeah. But
you have War of Rights though?
No, I don't know, but I think I must get on there. But anyway, going back to the reenacting and being in their shoes. So the first time I did American Civil War reenacting, I thought I was in a movie. It felt like being in a film or something, you know, being in the firing line, seeing all those guns go off at the same time, seeing the shots coming from over the other side, you know. And then the second time was a little while ago, is when cannons were on the field. And again, they're not as loud as what they would be if you're firing real rounds. But I actually, in my brain, started thinking about what it was like for those guys being there at the time and being shot at and listening to those noises and sounds.
Sure.
And it actually scared me a little bit.
I mean, and I understand it too, because one thing, and I captured it in some of the live videos, you can hear the whistle of a shell going across that field. And that's something I kept forgetting, is that you have that sound. So when one of the bigger guns would fire, like the ordnance rifles, or if you had one of the other guns firing, it was, or, you know, sounds like that, it would fly across, and then you'd watch the round impact on one of the mounds beyond it when we were setting up our targets. And at that in itself, again, goosebumps just kind of rise up.
Because that would have been a person, you know.
And I did I didn't really, I'm not a Confederate reenactor by any means, but I did have ancestors that served in the Confederate artillery. So I just wanted to like put a shell jacket on for a minute. And it wasn't even a shell jacket. It was a 30th Virginia Infantry jacket with the blue piping and the gray. And I just put that in I actually wore my slouch hat to the event this time. And I had a chance to fire that with the Confederate uniform on. It's kind of funny and symbolic of Confederate artillery, because as soon as I put the uniform on or the jacket on and went to go light it, the fuse went out.
Oh, there you go.
So I had to relight it. There you go, stubborn rebels.
Yeah.
But it was the 200. And the cool thing was, like, the shots, like, we looked, I have a grouping of photos where we actually had two of the shots touching together at the markers. So we had put our post in, and when we had done our relay, we finished and we went to go retrieve the rounds and then bring it back to fire again. And they were touching, and there was one like 1.9 yards from the post. That's a good shot. I was like, oh crap, that's cool. We were close. And one rolled all the way under to, like, you know, the further artillery projectile area. So unfortunately we didn't get to shoot the mountain rifle. And I'm okay with that because of the experience. Oh, did it rain? Oh, did it storm?
Thor was not happy.
Hectic. No. I think he wanted to play too. And he showed his guns were still bigger than ours, and
now,
they were definitely.
I'll ask about the mortar. So the mortar you was using was a fairly, was that a standard size one? Because you know the ones you see on the Petersburg siege photographs.
The dictators, like the dictator, yeah. It was a lot smaller than that. This is a 24-pound Coehorn mortar. Using grain powder and 24-pound solid shot. We were using solid shot today, but there would have been during the Civil War more of an explosive round used, and just that's not necessarily safe for a competition. You know, we don't need to be sitting there dropping explosive mortars on everybody, but I mean, because the gun explosions itself are explosive enough. I mean, we were using heavy amounts of grain in that thing that I've never thought I would see. Like, I was watching him pour one of the grains down, and I have not seen that amount of powder poured into a musket or any type of artillery demonstration I've seen at a reenactment. So that was new. That was just like, oh, this is going to be loud. This is not going to be quiet at all. It was fun. And then even the rain, like the mortar itself, I got a video, a real short one, because one of our other, competitors that were coming up, they pulled out that rifle in front of us. It was a 10, or it was like I can't remember what ordnance rifle. It was a large 3-inch ordnance rifle, I think it was, that they brought out. And when they brought the 3-inch ordnance rifle out, it started pouring. And I was like, I wonder what a slow motion video of rain and the mortars. And you can find things that are different throughout every event or every, Civil War event or battlefield you go to. And one of the things I noticed was the beauty in that video when it was slowed down, watching that rain, really focusing on you could see the rain dripping off of the gun and bouncing off of the iron or the cast iron of that gun, and the sounds of the rain, the the smell of the gunpowder is still lingering in the air.
You can't avoid that smell.
No, you can't. And it really was just like, it was surreal was the word I used in the video. And I think surreal is the word that's appropriate to describe it. It was one of those experiences that you don't forget. And to make it even cooler, like, and it's small, but you know how I am with symbolism at like any point. And we were talking about that yesterday, and there was a point where we were finally, it just kept raining and raining and raining. We knew it wasn't going to let up, and it got worse. The wind got bad, and we just had to get it. So we ran out of the tent, and we grabbed the gun, and we wheeled the gun up. It's soaking wet. We're just running the gun up to this thing that we're carrying limber chests and jumping them into the back of the truck. And then at the end, we had to take our canopy down because when we started, it was about 101, almost 102 degrees. I mean, we were standing up and feeling lightheaded every time we stood up. So obviously nobody got in full uniform. And I think I was even kind of ballsy to put on the shell jacket in the first place with the way the heat was. And to have the temperature change as significantly as it did was pretty crazy too. I think, but at the end of the day, the thing that really stuck with me was the guys that were firing, I think there were 5 of us, we got together to help close this canopy that we had to use open. And it was cool because we all came together at once and shut it. And it was just like in the rain, all of you guys are completely freaking drenched. And it took a teamwork to pack everything up, to start that day, to unload it and call it quits, to get us out of there and get us home safe. I don't know why that really stuck with me. There's some things I don't question it, but it was like you could see it and feel it. And after having
if you're part of a gun crew, you've got to be really close and really trust each other because I mean they would have had to, wouldn't they?
100%.
You're putting, especially if you're firing a cannon, you've got to put. I can't remember. Was it 6 to a team or something like that?
Depending on the army,
depending on the battery, or whatever. Yeah, I mean you've got to trust that person that's mopped it or whatever they do to it, make sure there's no ash, because then the person loading the round, they could get their head blown off, couldn't they, really? Sure. And I'm sure there were accidents, So,
for example, in Parker's battery at Gettysburg, that happens. Yeah, and like you said, you got to be close because accidents happen or things can happen with the battery that could really hurt, and you got to be paying attention. You got to be able to know where your comrades are or your soldiers are at all times. There's I think its name is Hightower, and he serves in Parker's battery as well. And at Gettysburg, he's having his legs crushed by the artillery limber wagon.
Yeah,
because he was able to fall off the limber chest and it rolled right over his legs and crushed it. So, these accidents do happen. Artillery is a very dangerous job. Some people say it's the safest place in the Civil War. I mean, sometimes it is, yes, but it's not. Not in specific batteries cases at all, especially. But I did think that was evident today when I heard that whistle. There's nowhere safe on a Civil War battlefield.
No, there isn't.
No, there's
and
no
also,
safe.
you're going to be you're going to be getting picked off if you're standing there on those cannons anyway, and then
Especially
you can't pull it away easily, can you? Not like when you've got a rifle, you can run away, but
rifle. I mean,
mortar teams though. So at the time, how many were in a team of people that done the mortars?
Well, so I believe it depends on the specific mortar that we're talking about, actually. And in our case, what I was using was the 24-pound Coehorn mortar. And the 24-pound Coehorn mortar, there's an 1838 and an 1841 model of that. And the Confederate Army and the Union Army both are going to be using this gun itself. I took some notes earlier on when I was learning about it, so that's what I'm glancing over here and looking at. And it's just a copper tube. Sometimes it's bronze. Confederate Union both use it, so you're going to see different materials when it comes to both. And it was bolted to a wooden box. Now, the one that they had was, I think it was a pine box, which is different because it was normally like a different wood. But the box that they have, and this is the folks that are the 12th U.S. Regulars, was from a barn that's a historic barn from the Civil War, and it's being used to this day on the Coehorn mortar. So the tube itself might not be original, but the bottom piece, even though it's not from a gun, is an original to the Civil War piece, if that makes any sense at all. So with that being said, that was a very, what's the word for it with that? I would say sobering too. I thought that was an incredible thing to kind of experience and to see. And he was like, you know, a little bit of history about this, and they were sharing it and talking about the different uses that this gun had, and the kind of just understanding the trajectory that it has and what
sort of range would that size have again.
So the range that would have is, I mean, you could do anything. I'm looking at again, one of the notes that I took, the range that we were using, I only got up to about a 200 thing, but we could be, Coehorn mortars 1,200 yards. It's damn near a cannon, and you had to have a skill crew because you're pre-registering your targets with these. You know what I'm, and we did something different. Sometimes you used a friction primer. We used a fuse, a time fuse that was much more easier. Now, of course, since this was a competition, we used that so that we could effectively try and really just, I want to say win. And Kojak, it actually had 2 to 4. 3 wouldn't could be a 1, but you need to have backups and you need to have support. So there's 2 to 4 suggested. 3 would be good because sometimes your third or your fourth gets shot and you need another one. But strategically, again, and similar to Confederate armies, you have to look at the battery sizes. Battery sizes in the Union Army are 6, and Confederates are 4. 24 pounders in the Coehorn mortars. Union could vary, Confederate could vary, but generally speaking, 2 to 4 people would be on that gun, hoping that you can actually make it through that. Now, maybe a 12 pounder version that there is a 12 pounder that has a suggested of 3. So maybe you're thinking of the 12 pounder that is the one that is a suggested crew of 3. But even they could send a ball 1,200 yards. This ball, I think, was more for, a larger force, obviously, but this 24-pound gun.
Were they easy to pick up and move at a short notice?
Yeah, and he says the U.S. military, and maybe it does, but I think that they were more than likely for specifically seeing how that gun was used today, and we know that a lot of those military manuals and the artillery manuals were outdated at the time of the Civil War, too, unfortunately, and some were new and modern, but at the same time, you're looking at implementations on the battlefield more so than a book. We're going to see what worked and what didn't, trial and error type deal, I believe. So that's kind of what I'm basing it off of. And also just some of the notes that I have here on the Coehorn mortar that were used, some of the soldiers. If you look at Tidball's artillery during the Civil War, I think that's the book name. He describes the same thing with the Coehorn mortars, that there were typically 4 people on the 24, the 12 pounder, again, being the one that generally had 3 because it was less. And you're also using friction primers in combat compared to using the fuses that we were using in a competition style. And it's insane to see that this gun, you can follow it too, more so than the cannon. I tried to watch and follow the ball from some of the other artillery pieces that were used that we kind of tried to implement. But the Coehorn mortar and watching it sail down and watching it, go to its target I'm still kind of formulating words for that because it's a feeling that I haven't had on a battlefield. Like, again, the reenactments were great. I really enjoy reenacting. It was fun. However, I was joking around. I said, I think this event has ruined reenacting for me because he said it depended on how many men were hit by snipers, and that is absolutely the truth because that was something I'm sure.
They would.
These mortar people probably faced more than anything because those are like 2 of the most despicable. And compared to the military during the Civil Wars, they did not like sharpshooters. They did not like bushwhackers, and I'm sure as hell they did not like guys with the mortars because, again, we're using solid shot in a competition base, and even then it's still just all shocking when you see and watch your shot arc up and shoot. But when you're watching, and I don't ever want to hope to ever see this, obviously wouldn't be using Coehorn mortars today. Some scarier stuff has been implemented, but these things exploding, I'm trying to visualize that. And then watching the artillery, so like the 12 pounders, the 10 pounders, the ordnance rifles, and watching them hit their targets and just even embed in the ground the way they were doing and kick up that dust cloud was incredible. The sound of an artillery shell flying out of a gun. I have never heard that with my own ears before.
No.
I thought in War of Rights it didn't really sound real, but they did a good job. And I'm going to say that's another thing I want to praise because that really does sound sort of like that. And it's not as loud because we're obviously not using, maybe they are using the larger charge in reenacting, so it is a little different, but there is a whistle. It's almost like ripping the air or breaking the air. And that was incredible. I am humbled by that. I have a newfound respect for the mortars. It's something I never paid attention to in the Civil War as much until I got up there.
Not me either.
No, and I like Petersburg. That's probably one of my favorite campaigns. And
they're mostly used in sieges.
Exactly.
Here,
I don't want to go stretch and call Petersburg a siege or anything by that matter, but I do want to say that was a frequented piece of, I don't, in God artillery it was a infernal weapon similar to the mines. This was very deadly. It was able to be arced, and it was very skilled labor to shoot this thing.
Yeah, you can trace them type of weapons back a long time. They were using them in the medieval period as well, I believe, in siege warfare at some point. The French, I think, used them.
Sure.
Don't. I'm not 100% sure on that, but
well, it was made by a Dutch engineer, so let me see what I got here. I was looking.
Yeah, I'm putting stuff up at the moment myself.
That was a very interesting.
So, there was a siege in 1456. Where they claim by I don't know where it is. Belgrade, is it?
Belgrade.
Yeah.
Siege of Belgrade. I do believe
something to do with the Turks and the Ottoman Empire or something like that.
Okay.
I'm sure the French use a similar thing. Now I know at Dover Castle they do have 2 siege type mortars actually but I don't know whether they're what they were used for. I think they were used a bit later on, maybe in the Napoleonic era.
Sure.
They're up at Dover Castle. I have got a picture somewhere. I'll show you one day.
I'd be interested to see that.
Yeah, they're putting this there for ornamental reasons, but they must have had some kind of involvement in something.
He said, let's see, Coach, I have pulled the trigger of a 538 many times, 72 projectile with a range of 18 kilometers. Good God, Kojak. Oh, my gosh. I see, I'm over here talking about a 24-pound Coehorn mortar, and he's over here talking about a 72-pound projectile.
I know when you get into World War II and World War I, then you start seeing what the Germans and the British and the Americans start using during that period. And it's absolutely mental.
Yeah,
see the size of some of the things the Germans came out with. I mean, they had during the China when they were trying to invade Russia, they had some massive things on. They had to have it on a railway track because it was that big. I don't know if anyone's ever seen a picture of that. There's this gun on a carriage, and it's actually the biggest gun you've ever seen. And again, the design goes back to the mortar style,
So Cloven Tech 95, I just saw these pop in. I don't know what was up with that Twitch reload there, but it says they do be good picks, though. Thank you, man. I'm glad you enjoyed them. It was I didn't mean to spam everybody with them. It was just there were so many I think powerful pictures that came from that, or maybe just it did illustrate kind of the day we had. And I wish I could have gotten some more of that rainstorm done. And I'm trying to get that one video of there's so many I got to go through, but rather than do them all at once. I'm trying to get this compiled into a compilation of all the different shots and just some of the different sites because I've got quite a bit of stuff and I want to make sure that this is put up and shared with everybody, especially those 12th US regulars who are just amazing people. And I'm so glad that they've even considered allowing me to join with them and become a member of their team. And I'm being able to partake in more NSSA events.
You can see that or not?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Look at that. That's what the Germans
my God. Is that Gustav cannon?
Yeah, I think
that's Gustav Cannon. That's why I thought it was
a cannon, but
right. Okay, that would be a fun thing to fire at a reenactment.
Could you imagine? I mean, they completely Sebastopol got absolutely wiped off the earth.
I need a rail car, and I need a railway built, and I need a rail car. Let's go. That's a huge.
In the Civil War, did they not have a similar type technology?
They did. The dictator. What it became known as the dictator, and let me pull up. I do have some notes.
So who was that? Was that the Confederacy that had that, or the Union?
That was the Union, actually.
Yeah, it would have been, wouldn't it? Because
when you come down here in October,
yeah.
I really want to take you. Just if we can find the time, I want to take you down because it's only 2 hours from where I'm at here in Fredericksburg. Maybe even a little bit less than that. I would like to get you down there and show you that because they have a replica, or if not the real dictator, sitting at Petersburg's Visitor Center, the Eastern Front Visitor Center. And it is still to this day, and now even more so, the position that it's at and looking up towards Battery 5. Battery 5 is up, okay? And this dictator is just down. And it shoot up. I'm just thinking of it like arcing shots into different positions and how far it could take it because that gun was not quiet. I'm like, how much grain did you need to use?
Can you imagine?
And then now these things never ran through my head. It was just always, damn, that's a big mortar. I mean, still very impressive. But now looking at it in terms of firing one and hearing that and watching what they do and seeing what they do and feeling the percussion that comes out, I can only imagine standing where I stood from a 24 pound compared to the pound that came out of the Dictator. And let me see before I go and get up. I'm actually going to get up in a second because I want to grab my ordnance book and see if I can't find some more stuff. I want to see what kind of size shot we have. Kojak also saying Fort Foote in Washington has two 15-inch Rodman. Beautiful. Yeah, those Rodman guns are large. Very formidable guns. The Dictator mortar. Okay, we see this is from the Library of Congress. Do not do anything to describe the picture. Thank you, LOC, for your help. I do appreciate the picture description, but that's not what I wanted to know. 13-inch mortar. That's Civil War. We were talking about a 16-inch projectile from Kojak right there. There's the comment. The Dictator was a 13-inch. That's insane.
That's big. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a picture if you guys want. I'm gonna go ahead and source it in the comments here. It's on the Library of Congress. If you want to read or not read, but if you want to read up on it more too, definitely start diving into some Petersburg books. I could always just go on a dearth of information. But there it is there. If you guys are on any of these watching right now, I did just send this so that anyone that may want to see this and kind of it's on Twitch and YouTube. It didn't pop up on Facebook apparently. That's okay. I don't know why it keeps doing that, but I'll go ahead and put the quote there so you can take a screenshot of it and see it. That's the picture for the 13-inch Dictator. It's a very good picture, I think, because it does show troops standing right next to it, and it gives you kind of a size comparison of the mortar tube itself is bigger than a human. The mortar tube I shot today, again, let me pull up a 24-pound Coehorn.
It makes you wonder how they actually got the ball inside it.
A Titanic struggle, man.
How did they get that in there, man? With a crane or something?
I don't even. There was a rail car, actually. That's how they got the gun. It's similar when we were talking about Gustav Cannon. You know, the 13-inch mortar. If you look at the picture here, they're on a railway.
Yeah.
They're sitting on a rail car. It looks like a box car. It almost looks like a pallet box, like you would receive pallets on a railroad. If you look off to the left mid-center picture, you're going to see that railroad there, and you can see that this gun was transported by railroad in order for it to be rolled into place. Due to probably the fact that it's massive and the gun is so heavy, and it almost looks like there is a staircase. Almost there's two steps that bring you up to the mouth of the mortar, because this isn't a cannon. Or it is a cannon. He said block and tackle used. Block and tackle used. I love it, Kojak. I love it. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you got home safe and everything. I don't know if you're home yet. I didn't mean to ask about that. Yeah, it was really cool meeting you, and I enjoyed having lunch with you, and I really hope to see you again sometime soon because our conversations were great. I'm enjoying Rice Bowl's book when I have a chance to sit down and read. It's been very few and far between that I actually have that time. But I know after I have a rather short graveyard shift tonight. I'm going to be off hopefully around closer to 5:30 in the morning is what I'm scheduled to, but it's always a suggestion, very, 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 very tight suggestion. But I'm hoping that I can get home at a good time and maybe read for a couple of hours before I doze you off to sleep for the next one. Book report due upon completion. I think I can honor that. How about I schedule us a book report and we do a video here, because I did remember a comment that was brought up. I need to start doing some more scheduled events because I love the live events. We can continue to do this and provide this at the Unfiltered Historian. But what I'm going to do is start looking at some schedules. So if I have some free time tomorrow morning too, in between maybe reading and sleeping, I want to go and hit a calendar and start booking and getting things in order for next year, as well as the rest of the calendar year for 2020. I'm actually in the works right now of a trailer for our new page or our new documentary, and I'm going to be reaching out to a buddy of mine that's going to be filming this and getting his approval to see if this trailer is something he can do. But it almost looks like we're looking at like you go into a movie theater and seeing a trailer. It was insane to work on this, and I don't know how the heck I'm doing that. Again, I've never saw a career in IT, which I never will see a career in IT, but that's why I chose history. But here I am learning stuff that I didn't even think I could do. Like it's really cool to see this. And I'm not actually filming anything. I'm gathering footage. I've taken it Unfiltered Historian and the things that we've done here on the videos, and I'm sourcing all these things together to create sort of just a trailer and trying to just do more broadcast production, because instead of doing tour company, or I mean, obviously we still offer tours at the Unfiltered Historian as well. I'm looking at trying to get us more towards the broadcasting and production in the online history, because I've tried, the public, but the online history seems to be what really has stuck. And I feel like I really do have a passion for the online history, well, history alone, but online history has been incredible. And the Tattooed Historian has been incredible with helping me get off my feet onto this online history field and move more so away from the games. We still play them because that's where we started. And I mean, I started as Mr. Oculio on Twitch, and for 3 years was playing these games for a long time, like War of Rights, Verdun, and what have you. But now we've moved on to something bigger and better. And Darren, you mentioned today, and I still can't believe it myself. How many people do we have engaging with this page in 12 days?
It was just under 11,000.
And again, that's not braggadocious, but that's 11,000 people that have learned something about the Civil War, who may have clicked in and seen something about the Civil War. It's not a personal gain by any means. Well, it is. It's a gain for these 11,000 people. We're all learning and being richer in knowledge for that, and having just this 11,000 people reading Civil War history, learning.
The thing is, I've had 7 months on my own page, and I've learned a lot of stuff in that 7 months. So
this gives you experience.
This is what I'm bringing to you guys. I'm bringing you that knowledge, and I want to share with you. Because I want. I'm an unfilled historian as well now. So
you are instrumental
I'm
too. Just like the rest of us.
I can't tell you how excited I am about this.
And honestly, I am too. And we don't want you guys to feel overwhelmed with this being a team. I mean, I know it's a little different coming onto a page and seeing multiple people different times, but that's what we want to do. It's a community. We want you guys to feel this is a community. Mm-hmm. And the people that have been chosen for this are each individually different in their own way and offer something different and unique that collectively makes up the Unfiltered Historian. I'm not going and looking for other people. It comes naturally. It comes when I have a thought, or one of these guys has a thought, I want them to suggest it. We have a group chat that we go through. So we talk a lot about stuff. And, I do think that we have a good idea. And I have Kojak suggesting that. See, I like this, guys. Thank you. Suggesting. Tell us, talk about stuff.
Yeah,
awesome.
Definitely. Messages.
USCT, 2nd Regiment from Arlington.
Send your ideas.
Good discussion. Hey, Darren. He brought up a very good point. I would be tremendously, I like that word tremendously, I'm going to keep using it. A great idea, I think. The USCT 2nd Regiment from Arlington would be a good discussion. I'm sold. What do you think? Yeah? Definitely. All right, so then when I look at calendars and all that jazz, I think maybe we should look into that. Would you be interested in accompanying me for this talk? Since you're here with me right now, I'm going to ask you. If you don't want to do it, it's fine. I mean, I have some resources I can use to get some information. I've got a reference book. In fact, I will send you the link to that now, Darren, so you can look and see if you want the ebook or not. I got you. I don't think there's an audiobook, because this is more of like a textbook on.
Yeah, that's all right. I can.
But it doesn't read like a textbook. It reads very well. It's freedom by the sword.
I do sometimes, obviously, have to refer to written stuff to get my information.
And that's what I love about Darren is that, I do listen to audiobooks every now and then, but it's vice versa. So I listen to them when I can, and he likes tremendously more than I do. And I think in that regard, it's cool because we have a different approach to learning. I was diagnosed at a young age with a nonverbal learning disability, unfortunately. And I have learned to live with that by actually, I wouldn't say overcoming that, but learning how to not have that affect me so much. And it's weird that I still to this day, I'm like, that's how I learn. People speak to me, and now it's almost like it's flipped, because when people talk to me and I get lectures a lot, yes, I can hear it. But nowadays I read and I learn more than somebody talking to me or telling me or lecturing me. And it's insane. And I can read it and I can understand it, and boom, and I can apply it.
But see, I'm the other way. I'm complete opposite. I could watch a TV documentary. I could listen to an audiobook. I could listen to someone speaking in a lecture, and it just goes in. And the thing is, it gets pushed back in the back of my brain, and it's not. And I actually think that I don't know a lot, and it's not until somebody asks me the question about something, I realise how much I actually know, and then they fall asleep.
No, absolutely, and I think too, like when I was, I kind of caught that. I was reading. I was like, wait a minute, why do I have a hard time hearing it? Why do I have a hard time understanding this? And that's why I the Mortars and Thunderstorms thing. That's why I wanted to talk about the Mortars. That event, going to do things like this, are what really made me able to understand artillery even more, or the implementation of mortars even more, because it's hands-on. I'm visualizing, I'm seeing, I'm understanding.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone was to just sit there and talk about a mortar,
Yeah, I get what you
like
mean.
I'm
Yeah,
doing to you
sometimes
guys
you
right
have
now,
to
so
do
I'm
it.
sure
Yeah.
some of you aren't doing it. That's why there's videos on my Facebook, and again, I'm sorry they're flooded, but there's a reason I put so many in succession, because I'm wanting you guys to feel like you're there. And live videos are awesome; they're great. But I felt the way we did it this time, we did a few live just to update you where we're at, and
No, sometimes lives are
quote unquote.
not always good. Sometimes
But
you need
here's
to
the
do.
catch: I go to Chancellorsville, I go to even Fredericksburg. I lose connection in the Swill of all places, which still to me makes absolutely no sense, and I lose connection in the wilderness. The minute I step out into the Shenandoah Valley at the NSSA event, I had 4 bars of LTE the entire time and didn't lose service once. Like, you literally have me in the sticks now and the mountains, and I'm getting great service even in a rainstorm. But the minute I step onto a public road in downtown Fredericksburg, I lose service. I want to go towards
Drives you
Shenandoah.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go back up that way, and I just want to shoot another mortar again. It was so fun. I'm telling
That's
you,
one thing you're
it was
definitely going to have to find me when I come over is I'm going to have to get myself a little SIM that I can throw away afterwards, because I can't use my data. I'll get a massive bill otherwise.
I have Wi-Fi. I have wireless internet or Wi-Fi, so we're good.
Cool.
And I have a mobile hotspot that I take around the battlefields with me, so you won't even have to connect to your mobile data at all. What you can do is you can connect with me on my mobile hotspot, and we can share this Wi-Fi, especially when we're in Gettysburg and we're doing things like that when we're traveling before we get back to the States. And when we use that, what it's going to do is allow us to just have, I think, a better connection than I typically would with the internet. Here's the thing: I keep forgetting to go get it. I know I need it. I gotta grab it. It's at my mother's house still, and I gotta go see my mother and grab that. So everybody, remind me to go see my mom and to go get my darn Wi-Fi.
Do it on the way home in the morning. Do it on the way home in the morning, and you won't forget.
If I wake my mother up that early in the morning, you know what I'm gonna get? I'm 26 years old, but I'm still gonna get my butt beat. She's got mom strength, man.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not trying to go wake my mom up from the sleep she needs. She's been working all week. I wish I could, but I'm gonna let her sleep a little bit before I rush over there. Mom, can I have the Wi-Fi? I'm just gonna get that look, and I know. Okay, I'm gonna go back in my car. I'm gonna go home.
Yeah.
No calling, no tech, no, just leave it be. But that was insane to have this experience today, and to meet these folks. That I think that was above all one of my favorite things is again the camaraderie that comes around. Yes. It was different, and I like it honestly more than reenacting, as crazy as that sounds. The reason I say that
do they
is
do reenacting at the same time, them guys?
I don't think so. I didn't get into that conversation so much.
They basically just do competitions.
Correct. And I think I like that more. And again, it wasn't a competitive environment, even though we were being competitive. It's a competition at the end of the day. But going into it not thinking it's a competition, you're all there to have fun. And most people that aren't like us in the Civil War field don't go to those things to relax. We do. That's a relaxing time. Firing cannons and blowing stuff up is relaxing for us. It sounds a little bit crazy.
Yeah,
right?
no,
That's why
I know.
I said it this time.
It's true.
We're a little, but you know what? When you surround yourself by those people, it doesn't seem like anything's out of place. It was a group of people that all were there for the same reason. At the end of the day, the same reason there's a love of the Civil War. There's a love of the history. There's a love of the passion. And that passion is only here. Something I think I mentioned yesterday too, and I did a few live videos, and Darren, I think I told you. So most of you know I work at Sheetz, and that's a gas station for those that don't know. That serves as also a convenience store, and it's got some pretty good fried food if you're into that kind of stuff. I am too. Now that I've eaten it so much, I'm not necessarily so much into the fried foods, but okay. There was a gentleman that came in recently, and when he came in Wednesday night, Wednesday night, and he came in Wednesday night, and I don't know. I was offering him a Sheetz card as it's part of our job to be like, hey, would you like a Sheetz card? Good coffee too. Yes, you know what? Surprisingly, they do. I will give him that. I had a cup of coffee from Sheetz this morning on the way up, but I offered him a Sheetz card so we can get points and gas. And he says, I'm actually not from here. I was like, I like to always talk to my customers because I genuinely do have an interest in making sure that their visit's good. And he says, hey, I'm from Seattle. I'm like, oh, that's a respectable distance. And I happen to know our buddy Richard Heiser, who does the Seattle Civil War Legacy. So I mentioned, I was like, there's a great blog I listen or read from Seattle about the Civil War Legacy. And he says, we don't have much there. And I was like, oh, yeah, you do. You know that you got a lot in Seattle. And Richard illustrates that for you. So I would check out his blog. Okay, well, we know this world is smaller than anything. Okay, I'm going to start with that. On Friday, when I was preparing, I literally had my finger over the live button to go live. He's walking down the sunken road. And we didn't realize that at first. He stopped and asked me where the Sunken Well Tavern is, which is a restaurant that's just on the other side of the Sunken Road. And I mentioned to him that, it's, you make down Mercer Street and make a left and go past Stratton House. You'll be there pretty soon. And I said, I take it you guys are visiting. Where are you visiting from? I said, Seattle. I was like, no kidding. I said the same spiel because Richard's a great guy. I was like, here's another blog. He says, somebody at Sheets said something about that blog last night. I looked at him wide-eyed. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And I think as soon as I heard that, he just realized what he said. And he said, you look different with your mask off, which obviously. And I'm like, yeah, I do. I don't have my mask on. And we got to talking a little bit because where I was talking at, we were in front of the Innes House. The Innes House is a surviving Civil War structure in Fredericksburg that actually still remains on the battlefield, has extreme damage inside of it, visual reminders of the damage that was done on both December 13th, 1862 and May 3rd, 1863. Two battles of Fredericksburg, the first being the one that's a major Union defeat, second being a surprising Union victory as the Union captures the Heights. What the spiel I gave him was and I'm not even tooting my horn, the best talk I've ever done on that house. And it came from nowhere. And one thing he was mentioning was, and I hear this a lot, and I guess I need to really pay attention to it and be just appreciative of the fact that I have this passion for the war and that I have a passion for actually bringing this to you folks. It's become so much of I can't describe it. And I go to bed thinking about it all the time. I really do. It's like the position that this group has brought. It's in a time where history is questioned sometimes, and it's controversial. I think it's awesome that it's being talked about at all, positively or negatively.
Literally think about it 24 hours a day.
I do, and I mean, I get people weird. I probably annoy the hell out of everybody. I probably get people deleting me off Facebook because I post too much about the Civil War, or it's caused, whatever it is. At the end of the day, this industry, this history that we have as a country, I think, as a world even, because Darren, you've inspired me to something I don't ever really glance out at world history. And I have so many interests now because of your posts and the stuff that you show me. I now have book lists. So thank you for adding to my next book in a few years when I have to move out of my house. And now I'm moving 40,000 books of European history out of my house because I know there's no shortage of those.
Well, you've got
a
plenty
Civil War library, and you're trying to get me into a European history library, dude. How am I going to have room for that?
I find it hard to switch between the two, I must admit.
Where's my time to read for that? Yeah. I'm not a full-time historian. And honestly, if I'm not, that's fine, because it's okay to support your hobby. It's not a hobby. Okay, first of all, as much as...
No, it's not a hobby.
No, it's not. Passion. That's something I do need to say. But it's not something I need to make money from. I don't care about making money.
I'm not interested in money. No.
I don't want fame. It's not, and that's not ever going to happen. That's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is an opportunity to allow more folks access to history on different places and different platforms than your norm. You're then just opening a history book. I don't get me wrong, books are my favorite thing on the face of this earth, but I don't like the fact that there's just, I don't say it's closed community. I think it's just there's a lot of young people that could be drawn in, and we need to figure out how to do it. And there's a lot of folks that are just absolutely dismissive of any type of video game bringing a historical thing. And I think, again, that's one of those closed-minded things. Like, I don't want to reenact because it's cap guns or it's disrespectful or it's this. No, you're not allowing what you're complaining about. Seriously. And this is my opinion too. So please don't sit here and say I'm taking fact, but I see it in a lot of these folks. And it doesn't mean that anyone's above anyone or below anyone for those feelings, because it's an opinion that everyone is entitled to. But in my mind, I feel like there is a chance to attempt these things that I view. So I'm either going to eat my words or I'm going to bring younger people or a larger audience in. And so far, I've been doing a little bit of both in different topics. I found what works and I find what doesn't. And what works. We continue with it. What doesn't, well, let's tweak it and find again. Does it work? Does it not? It's cool because it's trial and error. You're being able to meet new people because you're engaging in different types of audiences. Darren, if I haven't met you, I would have never been coming home with Napoleon books. I have a book on Napoleon now, the Napoleonic Wars, like that big giant tome that just came out. I think it was earlier this year. And then I got a book on Waterloo. I've never had no interest in that. Now I do. Hastings. I had no interest in that. Now I do.
You know, actually,
we talked on the morning of the symposium.
I was watching a documentary about that, actually, just as you messaged me.
Now, let me ask you something, because I want to see. How many times have you seen that documentary?
No, that was the first time, that one today.
Okay, I watched the same documentary.
I've seen different ones, obviously. Okay. Loads of different. I was watching one on Amazon tonight, actually.
Have you ever watched the Civil War Combat series on Amazon?
Probably. I don't know. No, probably not. Maybe
I have some homework for you.
Okay.
But do you have Amazon Prime?
We get different content in the UK to what you get in the States, so I don't know whether it's on there or not.
Well, then maybe we can figure something out.
It might be on YouTube somewhere or something.
There are a few episodes, but the quality are abhorrent. So what I'll do is, are you on Discord by chance?
No, but I can be.
Get at a Discord tonight, message me on Facebook, and I will set up a watch party.
Oh, that would be cool, yeah.
And pick a day maybe this weekend where you have an hour or two. We can watch an episode together this morning, and even when I get off work, I'd love to.
Do you know what? I want to go back to what you was just saying. I've been on this earth 38 years, and this is what I was put on this earth to do.
I've been on 26.
It took me a long time to find out what it was.
I'm glad it took me 26. And I'm not even saying that facetiously, because I knew I knew Civil War at least was what I wanted to do in some capacity, but that's all I knew, was that I want to do something in the Civil War field. Really quickly, Kojak's offering some really cool stuff. It's different history that I don't know about, and I love this. This new exposure to history. He said you could listen to the weekly podcast on the Seminole Indian Wars by the Seminole Indian War Foundation. Yes, I could. And now that you said that, that has been... Hold on, let me screenshot that, because I am going to forget, because there is work coming in about an hour, and I want to make sure that I remember. So, excuse me. Darren, I didn't take pictures of our faces, I promise. Give me one moment. Why don't you talk to him for just a quick second? I want to grab that ordinance book and show you guys something, and maybe try to find some cool information today while we're supposed to. I want to branch back on, but I do want to continue our talk, and then I plan to end this, if it's okay with Darren, at 8:15 at my time. Is that all right for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Have some time to go to work. Awesome. So let's continue the topic about the passion in the Civil War, and I think I might even try to schedule a show about that and the enthusiasm, and the different types of things that make historians.
Yeah, definitely.
Ooh, that's an emotional roller coaster.
Because mine's definitely, and it might be other people's, is Gettysburg the movie. That was it. That got me hooked right there. That movie.
Let's go surprise Harry Heath. My favorite saying of all.
There's a devil to pay.
What goes, God, John? Don't get me started, please.
What goes, John? There's a devil to pay.
Don't get me started, please.
I love that.
He said Kojak is showing that we are both children compared to his age.
Yeah.
Well, Kojak, you have been a great friend to me. Age doesn't matter in that thing.
Well, Kojak, it doesn't matter how old you are. It's the woman you feel. Anyway, I'm joking.
Jeez, but you have been a tremendous supporter too. I'm using that word tremendous again, because that's what I think of all of you guys that are here in the unfiltered historian community. Like, I really do. And I don't just say that to be sappy and like, oh, thank you. I can't stop thanking you guys, because I can wake up with a smile on my face for once. And it's been an incredibly tough year, personally, for almost more than a year now. But it's been incredibly tough. And to have this huge beacon of light and hope, that there is a place for me in this world, not even just in the world of history, and that I can help others, and that's kind of what's changed. Is it's not so much I want to be just writing and doing all these things. I don't care what it is we contribute, so long as we contribute and allow others the ability to contribute in some way, shape, or form, to bring maybe a new interest. Because I was, me and Tim were talking about it. Someone said that the Civil War industry is waning. No, it's not. You either hate it and you got lots of slant on about it, and it's still being talked about. That's what I think is interesting. It is still being talked about. It's still being fought about. As long as that's happening, ain't nothing going away. Because people are going to be interested in the arguments that someone's fighting about. There's going to be notes sourced. There's going to be film. There's going to be academia. There's going to be classwork. There's history classes. There's so much stuff. And there's so many pre-published things. There's a lot of fear with education and history in the United States today. I say, study what we have. Look at what we have. Look at what we know. Visit your sites. Visit your places. Understand your history. Let me go grab this book real quick, because I want to show you guys some cool stuff and I forgot I've had this. It's exciting to kind of go through it.
He might be a long time, because he's got a lot of books.
It might be.
Anyway, yeah. So the way I got started was Gettysburg the movie. That's what it was, for me. And
how's that for a long time?
Oh, bloody hell, he's got it already. Anyway, we'll finish that story another day.
How is that for a long time? Oh, I'm blurry so bad. Whoa. There we go. Camera
didn't take long, did it?
No, because I knew where it was at. I meant to bring it with me for the ride up today, but I forgot.
Oh, fair enough. Oh, of course, you would have been looking at it before you went. Yeah.
Also, books wasn't for once, and I can't believe I'm actually saying that books were not my main focus this morning, but books were not my main focus this morning at all. That's for sure. And I'm looking for one of my chargers, so excuse me really quickly. Now that's going to take me a long time.
I'm trying to think of some more, some lines from Gettysburg the movie. I told you there's no time for that.
That's my second favorite scene. Anytime I have some like crap going on, that's like.
And then you've got what's his name? What's the guy's name when he comes in and moans about taking the hill? I don't remember his name now.
Trimble.
Trimble. Yeah, that's a good scene.
I was flipping through one of the graphic novels at Chancellorsville yesterday, and one of them had this. I find it funny. One of them had the little comic books, and it had that conversation in the comic at the Gettysburg. It's like a comic book. I might honestly get them just for shits and giggles. Completely honest with you, man, because it was hilarious. It really was.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, by the way, I said shit, but this is the Untitled Story.
Apologies.
It's okay. No apologies. I don't really apologize.
What you were saying about it being a hard year and everything. Do you know what? I've been banging on this door for 7 months of trying to get into this field, and thankfully I did actually come across yourself in July. So
yeah, and it was incredible to talk to you.
It was the Gettysburg thing we did. I'm so glad.
You and I clicked instantly, and
straight away
had talked a lot on that podcast.
Yeah, because we love General Burnside. We're going to upset everyone again now.
And I'm glad that you and I have this report, because I knew instantly that I was going to be
straight away. Yeah, straight away.
I mean, that's what I've been missing my whole life. I mean, I think is like the group of folks that I knew that I needed, and John Roos, Tim Logan, yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're the Unfiltered Historian, and again, it's not one person. It has become a group of us, because there's a like-mindedness. I see, a lot of the things that I want to do in you and in John and in Tim, and I think I hope to think vice versa, because that's why I've got
some really good ideas in my head as well. I mean, with the power of the streaming we've got nowadays,
right?
I'd like it to do something really cool one day, but we'll keep that under wraps for now.
And that's the thing. I don't want to overinflate, but I've even flirted with ideas of starting with Americana literature and movies, because we are the Unfiltered Historian. We're not strict to one.
Exactly, that's the best thing.
History or one era.
My page is very limited to American Civil War and UK history. I can't really go, so it's nice to be able to step out of that sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I think what's going to happen with that is, so I've been talking with a friend of mine who is very, very knowledgeable of American film and even foreign films too, but specifically Americana. And maybe it's Americana. I don't know. I need to be speaking for myself here, but I've had conversations with him about movies that I don't think anyone else in this world have seen. So I'm looking at him like, okay, there's something developing here. And I've been asked about podcasts twice now. So with that said, I'm going to be doing research on the best possible podcasting setups and shows and what would look good on
I actually do use one at the moment. I do have a podcast. I have pretty much all of my YouTube videos are available. The only ones that are not are, I think, the ones I do when I do tours or something like that, obviously. But yeah, I'll send you a link for that.
That would be fantastic. And I think what I want to come out of this with is a podcast series that's separate from our live stream.
Yeah,
because this is cool, and I think this has its own place. But I want to start putting things like I did with my first episodes of Mr. Oakley. I want them to go back on Spotify. I want them to be available on Apple Music. I want them to be available when you're on the go, and I want there to be just. Yeah, I say me, but I hopefully you guys want the same too. But I think that would be tremendously helpful. There's a tremendous word again. I don't know what it is today with tremendously. Maybe you guys are just all tremendous. That's it. I'm so excited to have you all. And again, not being corny or funny. I'm so
I know. I'm being serious too.
But I think that that would be cool. I think it would be useful to have that podcast. I know there's an inflation of history podcast out there, but that's
there's
awesome.
The start of something. There's something. There's start. It sounds corny as well now.
Yeah,
There's
and I used to listen to a lot
here.
of music on my rides to work and when I'm doing things. Now, don't get me wrong, music's great, but like I was listening to metal music, all the rap, whatever it's great. I like it. But it's not as stimulating to the brain and not as educational, and it doesn't make you think and critically think in my mind, and it doesn't do the things and offer the things that a podcast can that is specifically focused on history and thought-provoking at that history. And that's what I prided my blog off of, so that's another thing to bring in. There's just so many opportunities for us to do that. Currently, I am changing the name of the Crossroads and Crossfire blog, which I authored, and you three have full access to that. There is now an article available for anyone on the Unfiltered Historian crew. So myself, you, Tim, and John to write whatever they want. Post.
Cool.
There's a blog now, so you can blog about whatever. You can make videos. Obviously, I wanted to make that available to all of you too, whenever you want to go live. And of course, there should be a structured. That's most podcasts have. We don't really do that, but I think at the same time, maybe we should start scheduling talks. But not the structured talks, but a scheduled talk.
Thing is, most of my content is structured, so I like the fact that I can step out of that as well.
And that's what I want to keep here. That's not going anywhere.
I don't want to be structured all the time because I find it restrains me. I don't like it.
You're the unstructured historian. Why don't you call yourself that? Oh my god.
Yeah.
You should be the unstructured historian. I'm not even kidding. That would be cool. Darren's the unstructured historian. It's not even a bad thing. It's true. Yeah,
no,
absolutely. I'm going to change your name to that down here and not the ass. I'm just kidding.
I'm going to change that this time. The unstructured historian. You've started a new hashtag now as well.
You should. You can change it right now. Look, I got you.
Go on then, change it.
I would love to see that. And that's cool. I think we could each have your. I can't believe we just come up with that. I can spell today. There we go.
So I know we're going off tack here, but. So movies. What would you say is your top 3 movies of all time?
Actually, nothing to do with Gettysburg.
No, nor is mine. No. Do you know my favorite is Ghostbusters?
Really? That's awesome. Because mine's Super Troopers.
Oh, fair enough.
That's my first favorite movie. Simply because I have literally.
You mean Starship Troopers or Super Troopers?
No, I mean Super Troopers. Have you not seen Super Troopers? Oh God. Okay, so it's about some police officers who are not necessarily the brightest in the world. Okay. And for example, there's one scene where they're being there to like have to sneak the word meow into the orders while they're trying to pull somebody over for a ticket. And I have literally never cried that hard in any scene in a movie. And ever since that, it has been one of my favorite movies. My second favorite, you said top 3. Titanic, believe it or not. And the only reason I honestly, let me switch that. Super Troopers is second, Titanic is first. That's the first memory I have in my entire life is of the movie in 1997 coming out. Now, mind you,
the movie was good. I liked it.
I didn't really care for the romantic aspect of it.
No.
It was shite, but I think at the same time, like I have this memory. I'm 2 years old, and the thing that blows my mind is that I have a vivid memory of watching or maybe seeing the advertisements or the talk that surrounded that movie on that old American show called Entertainment Tonight. Are you familiar with that? I don't understand how I have this memory because I was 2 in 97 when that came out. I was born in 95, so I was normally 2-year-olds don't have a vivid like, oh yeah, I remember.
I would have been 14 or 15 then.
So I can picture the entertainment stand that my parents had. I can picture the
all my friends watching it together.
The screen door, and where I was living. I was in Colonial Beach, Virginia. There were 2 blue couches that I did not really like the diamond things. Yeah, I knew everything, and that's the first vivid memory I have. And as I'm getting older, memory, and I do, for those who know, struggle with ADHD, but I'm starting to get all these like memories back now that I've been able to take care of my health. My mood is tremendously better, and you see things happen. I'm not just saying, hey, all the memories come back, but things start coming randomly to you with that memories. And one that doesn't come and go, one that always sticks is that one. And so that became my first historical obsession, believe it or not. The second was Mount St. Helens. The third was the Civil War. And the Civil War is stuck. And the other 2 are kind of still there. I just I haven't really done anything with them. That's kind of sad. So now that you say that, they're cool. But movies, yeah. Second would be Super Troopers. First would be Titanic. Third, honestly, The Lost Boys.
Yeah,
the 1980s vampire flick.
You know
Because
what? I'm going to throw another 80s one in there, and everyone will laugh at me. But RoboCop is my
no,
second.
can I change that? I can't believe I just said that. The Goonies is
The Goonies. Yeah,
the
that's good.
Goonies
That's
is
good,
the
but
third.
it's
I
not in
would
the
say
top
The
three.
Lost Boys can go in the 4. That's my third.
Now, the top 3 has got to be between The Two Towers or The Return of the King for me, and it's the battle scenes in it.
Yeah.
And one thing I love is the Battle of Helm's Deep. I love that battle in that. It's amazing, isn't it? And it's got pikemen as well, so it's dear to my heart. The Uruk-hai are holding pikes. And also it's funny as well, isn't it?
I think so. I saw the movies, but I've never read the books. And Kojak has mentioned again. Sorry, Kojak, I didn't see that comment there. He says the closest I came to England was the North Sea. We steamed in a circle around a spot where the carrier lost a plane. Have ridden the Ark Royale. Ark Royale would have an E. Come on, Tyler. There's no E there.
I don't know. Well, I've heard of the Ark Royal, yeah, but I don't know much. Naval warfare is actually not my favourite thing, actually, or anything naval. To be honest,
I have 2 naval trilogies up there now. It's going to start, I think. Now, I was recommended by a good buddy of mine, Dan, that I needed to read James Horn Fisher, who, rest in peace, just recently passed away, and I need to read Ian W. Toll's books, but I really want to read 6 Frigates by Ian Toll. I heard that was fantastic too. Yeah, but that has been the Bismarck. Again, another interesting early historical interest of mine. So, I mean, I'm just surrounded by that. Johnny Horton singer that my dad used to listen to. I remember like Battle in New Orleans. We've sung that before together, I believe, you and I on stream, because we were talking about Johnny Horton's music. Battle in New Orleans is a great song. But there was a Bismarck song he wrote too that I was just enthused with because of the drum beats. And of course, I hear
that's another thing I like as well, Civil War music. Obviously
me too.
Being a reenactor, I actually have a playlist on my Spotify, which I will sometimes play in the car, and people might go past and think I'm crazy. But do you know what? I don't care.
Why don't we talk about Civil War music one day then?
Yeah,
that sounds great to me.
And I like the music that was used on Ken Burns, even though it wasn't Civil War. It was made in 1985, I believe.
His second choice, The Day the Earth Stood Still, is a fantastic movie.
Yes.
The original is better than the new one, in my opinion. But I agree. I love The Day the Earth Stood Still. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing, Kojak. That is fantastic. And everybody else, if you are watching or if you're watching this later, comment. Tell me what your favorite movies are.
What about historical movies? Now, there's some classics out there. Now, have you ever, and now as an American, you might not have seen it, but have you ever seen a movie called Zulu? Go and watch it.
Go and watch Zulu?
Yeah.
Gettysburg is my first.
Michael Caine is in it, and it's about the Zulu Wars.
But yeah, I'd say Gettysburg.
It's in the 60s. It's a bit dated, but it's very good.
Okay. Number 2. We're talking about historical movies.
Yep, Zulu Dawn. I've not seen Zulu Dawn, actually, Kojak. I've only ever seen Zulu. Bridge Too Far. That's another film.
Longest Day would be my second.
I've never seen Longest Day.
And Tora would be my third. And I'm not a big World War II guy, but I love those two because me and my father.
Did any of you guys ever see Peter Jackson's documentary? They Shall Never Grow Old.
Saw it in theaters.
Oh my God! What a piece of film that is!
That is Oscar nominated.
Just seeing it in color just brought it to life, didn't it? It put
seeing them move, hearing them talk, hearing an in depth of their story. I mean,
I didn't like the silly voices though. Oh, hello, old chap, and all that. Get the cup of tea and all that.
No, okay, and I understand you didn't like that, but we don't get that here. Oh, okay. That's something we don't hear. A lot of them are silent. Mm-hmm. You just put a voice to those soldiers.
Yeah, of course.
You humanize them. It's like colorizing the Civil War. There was a very good documentary called Blood and Glory, I think it was, or Blood or Guts and Glory. I can't remember what the hell it was called, but there was. A few years ago, the History Channel, which I'm very weary of, put out a documentary that colorized a lot of photos from the Civil War. And one of the interesting part of that was the beginning of the show. They discussed that we are viewing this world through black and white, through a shade, through a different color, through a different filter. And they put it into color. And when you put those things into color, it doesn't seem so far away anymore. It doesn't seem so much of a
real,
past that's not relevant, and it's sad that that's the case. But I think that started to open the eyes. Now, I hate getting to this gory thing, but like looking at a casualty of the Civil War in color is not something I care to keep doing.
No,
because
I don't
it's
want
hard
to
to stomach. I can look at it in black and white because that first sentence of that documentary was so powerful when it said that, because it made so much sense that it was like looking at it from a different world.
I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because being so close to Antietam.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go on. Being so close to Antietam is that the first time they really went out on that battlefield and took those photographs, and then they had in New York that what was it?
Mr. Brady might as well put him at our doorsteps if he hasn't done something else. So along the lines like that. But yeah, that's a quote that's given because of they are shocked. They, being the American public, are shocked. They said they might as well, or Mr. Brady made as well. I'm going to read it because I'm tired of messing that quote up. Matthew Brady quote on the Antietam, because it's reference that like
you imagine being going along and seeing that and not being involved in the war, and you must have, the people that saw that went into that gallery to see those photographs the first time must have been absolutely shocked, even though they were in black and white.
And I'm having a hard time finding it. Alexander Gardner is one of my favorite photographers of the war, but I actually like Timothy O'Sullivan better, to be quite frank. I have no idea why I cannot find it. Oh, I found it. It's from the New York Times. Oh, and it's from the archive.
Kojak, where is that documentary? Where would I find it?
YouTube. It's on YouTube. And I watched it because of his recommendation. I bought when I went to the symposium, Sean Michael Chick wrote a book called The Battles for Petersburg, June 14th to 18th, and that features the first main heavy artillery. Tim Wilging and I of Unfiltered Historian have walked the first main heavy artillery before. And he's the one that introduced me to it, because every time I went to Petersburg, that's something I glossed over and never went to Colquitt Salient. I never focused on that. So I want to watch that again after I've read a few more things on Petersburg, because it was an interest I knew that was sparked, and I'm not so much. Darren, I have so much to study. It's not even funny, but that is one that's like pressing right now. Petersburg itself is pressing right now for me, because I'm seeing it's just, I don't know. I don't want to speak too much. Petersburg is just absolutely pressing for me right now, and it's my main concern.
For me, because I'm coming over to you to Fredericksburg, I'm slowly going towards all of that stuff again, But then I've also got to focus on an interview I'm doing at the end of August, so which is guerrilla warfare in the Civil War. So I've got to start delving into some of that, because I find that quite interesting.
I don't blame you.
That is the nursery of all of those people that travel to the West and then become all these outlaws,
No, absolutely.
These bandits like Jesse James and, people like that.
Sure. I would love to find this quote for you, because it's important. I'm trying to find it. I think I found it. It says digitized version of the article. It's a digitized version of the article. It is like a funeral. Here, I'm going to read this little quote right here. But Mr. Brady has done something to bring home to us the terrible reality and earnestness of war. If he has not brought bodies and laid them in our dooryards and all along the streets, he has done something very like it. At the door of his gallery hangs a little placard, "The Dead of Antietam." Crowds of people are constantly going up the stairs. Follow them, and you find them bending over photographic views of fearful battlefield taken immediately after the action. Of all objects of horror, one would think the battlefield should stand permanent, that it should bear away the palm of repulsiveness. But on the contrary, there is a terrible fascination about it that draws one near these pictures and makes him loth to believe them. You will see hushed reverend groups standing around these weird copies of carnage, bending down to look at the pale faces of the dead. Chained by the strange spell that dwells in dead men's eyes, it seems somewhat singular that the same sun that looked down on the faces of the slain, blistering them, blotting out from the bodies all semblance to humanity, and hastening corruption, should have this caught their features upon canvas and giving them perpetuity forever. But so it is. That's the quote I was looking for. A powerful one at that.
Very powerful, yeah.
Yeah, and I think
again, you've got to put yourself into their shoes. In 1862, when they're seeing that for the first, or whenever the exhibition was, shocking.
It is, and
That really brings it home, because you think New York's a long way from the war, So, for these people that are not in the war, fighting in the war, or not involved in it, it's going to be a shock.
It is. And have you been to Antietam before?
No, I haven't. It'd be my first time.
Okay, so one of the times that I went, I cannot remember when the heck I went. This trip was, it had been a year or two. No, not a year ago. It feels like a decade ago now because of COVID. But the last visit I had, that I went to the Pry House, which is a field hospital. They had a special exhibit upstairs, which set up the exhibit that Brady had for the dead at Antietam. And you would take a magnifying glass and look at the pictures as they would, and it's a quiet room, and you just walk around. And it was the first time that I stopped to think about how much I dehumanized a soldier. Not in a bad way, but I made it, they become a number. And this is something that is very easy to do for historians today. And this is my closing remarks here, when I'm going to try to find a good quote to match it, but it's a closing remark on the fact that these are not numbers. And that's what brought it home again from you. I mean, it wasn't even the power of that documentary, which is why I wanted to open with it. That was a powerful documentary. It was a powerful sentence. In fact, I think that whole sentence in the opening of the documentary itself was one of the most powerful things alone about that documentary. A lot of questionable stuff in the documentary, but let alone that was something that struck with me. And I think that when we study these things and we get excited about battles, it's hard to remember that
these were people,
the families that did not receive their husband, brother, or son home wouldn't be laughing like we did.
No.
Wouldn't be doing that. And now, I'm not saying that it's not, we have to be so serious all the time.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But I do think that in the back of our minds that we need to remember, we don't do this for us. And we don't even do this for the people, I don't want to say we do this for you, for sure. But at the end of the day, in all reality, it is for them. Their story is being told. We are doing this to try and keep their legacy alive. We are doing this to try and bring them to a spotlight and keep them there, because these are men that sacrificed everything and never went home. Glenn Miller never came home. Kojak says that. Glenn Miller never came home. Kojak, that was powerful. Thank you for sharing. When people don't come home, that's sad. That's horrible. It's something that they may have been willing to die for in a battlefield. And now we're here studying and learning from the dead. And I think there's a large lesson to be learned at the end of the day. There is a very large lesson to be learned, and something that could be taken away from this and applied to today, especially with how the world is and how the world was. Because as John Meacham, I'm not a great fan of a lot of his work, but his book, The Soul of America, is something that's also resonates with me, because he says to look to our better angels, even in the past year, the past 4 years, even that we've had worse times than this. For many of you who don't like how the world's going or keep complaining about that, we are not in the middle of a United States Civil War, shooting at your brother and shooting at your father and causing the empty chairs to home. We are having some very bad times, but it's always been worse, and it can always be better. But it's never going to be perfect. It's always going to be a point where it can be worse, or it can be better. We have to find out how, as a people, we take our culture, we take our history, we take our humanity, and put that at the forefront to be better rather than to be worse. That's what I think is the takeaway from all of this, is to use the lessons that history gives us to be better. Because we're always going to be in that medium. We're not going to be in that we're in a perfect world, because in a perfect world is the most hypothetical bullshit I've ever heard in my life. You want to hear a joke?
Go for it.
World peace. It's not going to happen.
No, never.
People are different.
Never.
People don't like that. People want to fight. People want to be violent.
I mean, we've only got to look at the situation that's happening right now in Afghanistan again. If people have been following the news. Absolutely. I don't want to bring up modern stuff, but already the British Army is sending 500 troops over again already.
Right.
And I don't know what America's response is going to be, but I know they're doing a similar thing. And, there's just never going to be any peace on this earth, because human beings can't, get on.
And it's terrible, because you're looking at a lot of things happening today that are very reflective. And people are always like, history repeats itself. I said, no, history evolves. It doesn't repeat itself.
Yeah, it does evolve. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
There's no repeating because the Titanic hasn't happened again. I mean, this ship's going to sink. But did it really go? Did the Titanic, do you mean tell me it went back into another iceberg and sunk down into the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean 2 miles deep? No, it didn't. It didn't repeat itself. And I think you're like, well, it means more than that. No, it doesn't. It evolves.
And you can say that as well with World War One and World War Two, because that is
absolutely
not in itself.
No, it's not.
World War One World War Two is because of World War One in a way, but it doesn't repeat itself. It's not the same. You know what
and
I mean?
I think you can say that there are parallels drawn that are replicative of other historical events, but it doesn't. I haven't really been able to honestly say for myself that I could say history repeats itself. I think it's a cop out to not studying further. Maybe. I don't know what the reason that it was brought up. I would like to see. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, America's going to fall soon, just like Rome and Greece did." I said, "Okay, that's great." But there are some other civilizations that are still out there that are older than America that are still here. So why would we? If countries, everybody's their own destiny. And I'm not one to tell you what your future is. I'm one to tell you what maybe the history is by finding and drawing the best conclusions possible with the resources that we have. And, historians are interpreters at best. Where our job is to interpret history. Pax Romano. Thank you. I was tripping for a second. Thank you, Kojak.
Yes, the Spanish flu was horrendous.
It was indeed. And that's the thing.
It's pandemic of their time.
I just have a tough time with the repetitiveness of it. And I'm sure, like, again, it's orated, it's philosophical, but I don't think that necessarily plays into, and who am I to say that too at the same time? So that's where what I mean by that history piece. There's so many things with history, man. It's a rabbit hole, and you just got to be willing to go down the rabbit hole. And if you're willing to go down that rabbit hole, you will find that it might be worthwhile, because I can promise you one thing: if you give it the effort, if you genuinely sit here and give yourself the time to study history, it will change you. I never was able to realize, and this gets just a little personal because I did it on the page yesterday and I don't know who saw it, but I just, again, want to reiterate. History helped me realize the only person to change me is me. History has changed my absolute life. It's put me in a position to where I have a future that I see myself succeeding, maybe not just history, but I know that I can move forward and I can deal with things that I need to deal with without having to go to drastic measures, without having to be, unaccountable for my own actions or my own self, how to change as a human, how to better respond to people I may not like, so many lists of things. Again, that all comes from history, because I can draw parallels and look at sometimes, honestly, compared to this guy, my life isn't that bad.
It's given me a direction to focus on. That's my thing. Because I didn't have, I actually think about this quite a lot. Before I started doing this 7 months ago, although I was involved with the reenacting, I don't know what I was doing. I was just floating around, I wasn't doing anything.
I think at the end of the day too, like, a lot of folks can learn these things. Maybe it's not even just from history that you're going to find out, things that'll change your life. But I see a lot of folks that are passionate about it. And I think one of the, as much as I want to talk about Mortars and Thunderstorms, this again brings it back to a full circle, is because of the experience I had today. And it's back to that. It wasn't just history that caused today to be what I said was probably the second most powerful day I've had in 2021. First being the birth of my little girl, obviously. That will always be the most powerful day of my life. But this, a rainstorm on top of me and putting on a shell jacket and firing a mortar. It wasn't a cannon, but it was the sound, it was the smell, it was the sight, and it was the real feeling almost of what my family would have felt.
That's right. You had a connection to that period, and that was, that's great.
I had it yesterday evening at Fredericksburg. That was a powerful day.
You did a really good little tour there.
Thank you.
And I'll just say, I enjoyed that.
And like I said, I don't blow smoke. I don't just try to be like, oh, boo, I'm making you cry. I mean what I say when I had that talk at the beginning. I didn't mean to go that long. I had to press go because I was just like, I didn't know I didn't know how I felt.
But that's why it got to me, because I know you meant it. I know that was heartfelt.
It was on my head at the time, or in my brain at the time. It was in my heart too. The same thing that was on my mind was on my heart, and it was the war the people that study the war, the community as a whole, and just the things that have shaped all of us. I think it's just like I wanted to touch on, like it was an extremely, extremely, I don't even know the word for it. I said surreal for just the image of the rain on the cannon. And you know what? The fact that happened today, I'm drawing my conclusion for that. I think the little video I put, the 3-second slow motion video of rain falling on that cannon in that not so colorful background with the small Coehorn mortar, I think that video right there appropriately describes my outlook on a lot, and that feeling that I had yesterday. Because it's a serene feeling. There's a very powerful storm being there, and even though we were soaked and weathered and nasty, we knew that needed to get all this stuff put up for safety reasons. And even though I just met these fine folks today, Daryl I've known for a while, and I haven't ever got to spend a lot of time with Daryl. And I just did newfound friendship again there. We've been friends, but I mean, like the closeness. When you're out there working together and firing that, you're right. You know, you have to be close knit, even if it's just for firing competitions. But to have that and to live that experience, and then you know that again, the closing of this podcast is like the closing of that canopy we had to pick up and close because it was windy. All the people that were on that crew came together in that moment, completely drenched head to toe. And we got the job done, and it felt amazing to see that feeling there. So I think there is a lot to learn, and there's a lot to benefit from this field. And I do believe that we as a people need to understand that, and we need to pick something that we can get that feeling from. And if you can't pick it, find it. It's not going to come overnight. It's not going to be something that just hits you. It took me 26 years to feel that in the Civil War, and I studied every single day. Darn it! I mean, few and far between, but still, I haven't had that before, and it hit me, and it was so it's you go to a battlefield. I thought I could know a lot about Fredericksburg, and I thought I've had all the powerful experiences there. I've never teared up and had goosebumps in front of the Innis house on a 106-degree day. That should say something. I was cold because I was just struck in that moment about what was in front of me, and what it's almost like a task that all of us have, not just unfiltered historian or, you know, some of these mainstream historians. It's nothing like that. It's a task for us to understand our people, understand us. And I mean our people as our world, the human race. I think it's important to do that so that you can better understand others and maybe better help others if you can, and better help yourself, because the only person who's going to help you is you. And it's crazy, this is coming from a history lesson, but this is something that I've been able to gather from a lot of the stories that I've read. There's a lot of blame going around the Civil War, blame game. He did this. Oh, General McClellan did this. You can take lessons from that. What does that get them? Dismissed and ultimately tarnished and known as that for the rest of their life. Is that something that you want to be remembered for? Or do you want to be remembered for, you know, everybody's flawed. There's helpful people. There are people that are looked at like Lincoln. You know, Lincoln's looked at as a helper predominantly. You could be looked at as someone who bickers for command or argues and blames others, or you can be looked at as someone who took the initiative, didn't care what others thought about him, and won the Civil War. Like
you got the job done. Yeah, that's right. No,
so all these commanders and all these historical figures have helped shape the personality that I'm able to take away within 2021. I didn't think people could change. I never really honestly had confidence in myself. But I became confident from learning some of these generals. And when I mess up, I take a lesson from Lee. It's my fault. It is my fault. I look at that. I look at people like even Stonewall Jackson. Stonewall Jackson has a devotion to his troops. He has a devotion to the task at hand. He has a devotion to many things. I'm not talking really into his religious aspects. I don't look into that too much, because even though it's a very strong suit demand, but he's also eccentric, and it's okay to be eccentric. He didn't give a crap what people thought about him. I learned from him. I learned from Jefferson Davis. I learned not to be a traitor to what I believe in. He let something go. He was, you know, he had a commitment, you know, he had an oath, but he also does other things to show us that he's still human too. He loses a child in the White House, and it affects him. And, you know, he makes decisions that are not good. He ultimately goes to jail, but he learns from those experiences. And Davis isn't hung. He's not killed. I actually have Montgomery Mays's journals from his architectural days up into the Civil War. The last entry is July 21st, 1861. And it's about the Capitol building. Kojak, I would love to learn more about him.
Actually, I'm going to do a little bit of Civil War trivia. So the only person from the Confederacy to be hung was the guy that was in charge of Andersonville.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember the guy's name, but actually, that was a very good TV movie, that one. Did you ever watch that? That was on YouTube. I watched it a little while ago. I enjoyed it.
I did, and I didn't realize on that. I mean, I knew Andersonville was the hell on earth, but it's still, when you see the graves and how many are actually out there. And in fact, there's a guy on YouTube, the History Underground, I think his name is JD.
Yeah, he did that. Yeah, he vlogged that. Yeah, he did some of the stuff in Bastogne and that as well, didn't he? In France and Belgium. Yeah, he's done some good stuff.
I think he has. I just, at the end of the day, like I said, what I said, it wasn't just to say it. It's to try and maybe portray that there is something for all of us to hear, or all of us here to learn. Excuse me. So, Darren, do you have anything else you have that?
Not really. I just want to
talk to us about tonight.
Basically second what you said. And we're just here to educate people and.
Elmira was bad too. Yes, sorry, he was Northern prisons being bad. I didn't want to cut you off. He's right.
Yeah, they were horrible too. They were bad.
Prisons bad in general. I mean, but war prisons, no, especially those.
We just got the passion, and we want you to come along on this journey with us as well. Because this is going to be a journey.
Yeah, we're all in this together too. We get through this.
We're giving the little man the voice of the history of history,
so. And I actually think that I like this quote that, of all people, I'm not the greatest fan of Shelby Foote, but I do want to share this quote because I think this is a great way to sum up the end of the podcast here. This is a quote from Shelby Foote, and it's from the first volume of Fort Sumter to Perryville, and I actually consider it one of my what would you call those words? Affirmations, actually. It reminds me of why I do what I do. The point I would make is that the novelist and the historian are seeking the same thing, the truth. Not a different truth, the same truth. Only they reach it, or try to reach it, by different routes. Whatever the event took place in a world now gone, dust, preserved by documents, and evaluated by scholarship, or in the imagination preserved by memory and distilled by the creative process, they both want to tell us how it was, to recreate it by their separate methods, and to make it live again in the world around them. Everybody, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. I hope maybe just have another, I really need to get some coffee in the morning, and I might just pop in if it's either by myself or with anyone that was wanting to tomorrow. Darren, you're obviously welcome. Extending in the invite, and I might even do a group coffee discussion. We'll play by ear. Darren, we'll chat tonight on my overnight in the morning, and we'll figure something out. Maybe I have some ideas that I'd like to go over with you. So once I have some free time, on my break tonight, I'll shoot you the messages so you can see them in the morning when you're up. And I know it's late for you, so just respond to them at your time. I'll be off at 5:30 in the morning. I don't know if he'll be up or not, but we'll go from there. I just wanted to say thank you for your help.
I just want to say keep following everyone. Keep that engagement going up because it's good, and we're going to keep plugging away, and we're going to create something amazing.
So I think as a team we are. Thank you all for watching and engaging as always. It's our final blurb there to go by. This will be up on the pages. Please go and visit his American Civil War in the UK and support Civil War tees. I wore that shirt one more time today. I had to wash it and wear it again today because it was my 12th US regulars.
The Lincoln one,
Yeah.
Yeah, the election one, the 1860 election.
I think it's great. But yeah, guys,
I need that T-shirt.
I can't appreciate Civil War tees enough, or CW tees enough for giving us one. This is great. It's awesome. I'm excited.
One of the guys that owns that, he's actually in England at the moment. In Lincoln.
He's the one.
Michael. That's right. Yeah. So
he's a great guy. Michael's great.
He is. Yeah. He's due to come back. I think in October. Is he? He's currently studying history. Yeah.
Well, Michael, if you drink beer, I want to buy you a beer because you are wonderful and it's different than.
Well, do you know what? He owes me a beer.
He owes you.
I did a quiz with him and I won a T-shirt and they went, "Oh, we're not posting it to England."
Well, you're coming to the United States.
I am. I'm going to order
one. Maybe we can
get
work something out.
I'm going to get it sent to your address.
Do it. I'll be in touch with the address, or just message me on our platforms, and we'll go from there. Guys, thank you guys again so much for joining.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers, everybody.